know your life, I felt your pain. I know your joys and your shames. Sometimes it feels like life walks over you, or like you're a penny on the ground. But either on the ground or in your purse, the smallest piece still holds its worth. Every one of us is worthy. Baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of life, worthy of saying no when something don't feel right. This is a song for you, for all the ups and downs that life will put you through. Oh, so listen up to this truth. You are me and I am you. Every one of us is worthy. Yeah, baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Baby girl, worthy woman, every one of us is worthy. Every one of us is worthy. Every one of us is worthy.
Welcome magic and wonder, brilliance and grace. Welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure and strain. Welcome essence, beauty, presence, time, spirit, form and space. Welcome excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
Welcome magic and wonder, brilliance and grace. Welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure and strain. Welcome essence, beauty, presence, time, spirit, form and space. Welcome excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise.
What I see, I have. What I wanna know, I understand.
All I wish I could, I can.
What I wanna be, I am. What I see, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
To be.
I am the seed, I am the loving also I give. I am loud and I am mighty. I am silent and I tread lightly. I am brave and monumental. I am modest, I am gentle. I am student and I teach. I am the sand and I am the beach. I am ease and I am power. I am bridge and I am tower. I am peace and I am wild. I am mother, I am child. I am many, I am few. I am God and God is you. I sing, I have what I wanna know, I understand. Oh, I wish I could, I can. Oh, I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. Oh, I wish I could, I can. Oh, I wanna be, I am.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is RahSheeda Waddell, your favorite specialist in the Office of Teaching and Learning. Yes, thank you for that. And it is a pleasure to be here with you to celebrate during this Women's Forum, our theme of women providing healing, promoting hope. And so in true form, as one of our amazing music faculty here at PCC, even if I do say so myself, it is a pleasure to share with you a musical selection this afternoon. And so in line with our theme of women providing healing, promoting hope, the selection that I'll be sharing with you is a very well-known standard. It was actually written in 1964 and performed by the incomparable R&B artist, Sam Cooke. And so it's amazing that, you know, it's almost 60 years from the time that this song was created, but it still seems to be quite relevant to us today. And especially, you know, with regard to our theme of promoting hope. And so I hope that you do enjoy this performance, recorded live from my home COVID pandemic studio. This is A Change Is Gonna Come, the RahSheeda Waddell version.
Oh, and just like the river I've been running.
What do you make of
ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard to live it, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. And I go to the movie, and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Hey, then I go to my brother, and I say, brother, help me, please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there's been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change is gonna come.
Thank you so much to our super talented RahSheeda Waddell. We're going to give you the American Sign Language clap today for that musical introduction to this afternoon's event. We're blessed with so many talented people on this campus, and we love to highlight them at events like this. Welcome to the 21st Annual Pitt Community College Women's Forum. I'm Jane Power, Marketing Director here at PCC, member of the Multicultural Activities Committee, and co-chair of the Women's Forum Planning Committee. I've had the pleasure of attending all but the first Women's Forum events, and the planning of this event has always been a pleasure and a highlight for me. Over the years, we've had some fabulous speakers, panelists, and activities. Today will be no different, as we have three of our own talented and remarkable women as our panelists. And as always, we will announce the winner of our 2022 Woman of Substance Award at the end of the event, so stay tuned. And now I'll turn it over to Regina Garcia, Chair of our MAC Committee.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you today as we think about the contributions, the issues, the all of what surrounds being woman. And so in normal fashion, I want to start us off with a little bit of a meditation. I've entitled it, She Woman. She woman, birthed by woman, generation after generation of might and messages and mustering and ministry finds us here praying and lifting, chanting, she woman, she woman, she woman. She woman after woman after woman, she beside us, she behind us, she in front of us, she around us, she beyond us. Her mind, body, spirit, legacy even lives on in our souls and in the sky, sometimes as sun, sometimes as starshine. She woman, she mother, maven, magic, sister, savior, solace, daughter, divine, delight, and for her care. We must recognize that even in her grandness, there is sometimes desolation and despair seated in the sagging load she often bears. She woman, balm-worthy woman, too often denied. She too often denies her own midnight cries. Yea, woman, you must not ignore your flesh, your bones, your mind, your heartaches, your groans. She, woman, stretch your hands toward hard sought havens. Find your holy oil, access your hallowed thoughts, and leap towards the heavens that will keep you, heal you, restore you, sanctify you, make you whole, set you free. She, woman. Greetings. We are excited to introduce to you today an adept panel of experts from varying academic and professional disciplines. These wise, beautiful, savvy, smart women are no strangers to us. We are fortunate to have them, women of excellence, student-centered and service, purpose, driven, to be a help, resource, facilitator, educator, and practitioner to all. Today, they will attach their knowledge to the concepts of health and wellness as it relates to women. I am excited to introduce, present these who I call my friends, my colleagues, these wonderful women: Tavondia Burdett, Kimberly Riddick, and Vandana Srivastava. I will begin with Professor and Director of Nursing, Tavondia Burdett. Tavondia holds a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from that magnificent institution, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels, okay. She received her Master of Science in Nursing from UNC Wilmington and a Master of Science in Health Education and Promotion from East Carolina University. Additionally, she holds a Bachelor of Science in Zoology from North Carolina State University. She's been all over the system. But importantly, she's been here at Pitt for 15 years. And we are just so glad to have her here. She cites her hobbies as being hiking, walking, fellowshipping with friends. She is a member, hold yourself together, Daniel, of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and attends Staten House Road Church of Christ. And she states when she has the time, she enjoys reading and crocheting. She's a wonderful spirit, and I'm so glad to know her. Welcome, Professor Tavondia Burdett. Next, I am excited to introduce our very own and my soror, Kimberly Riddick. Kimberly is a native of Gates, North Carolina. She is a graduate of East Carolina University, where she received a Bachelor of Science in Health Fitness specialist with a minor concentration in psychology. Kimberly also holds a master's in business administration and has documented progress towards completion of her Master of Science degree in mental health counseling at Capella University. She has an evolving passion for human behavior and the internal and external factors that impact daily interactions. This alone has been the driving force for her desire to minor in psychology and pursue higher education in mental health. Out of all things in life she could have chosen, she takes pride in her decision to edify the lives of others by educating on practical skills and techniques to enhance overall mental well-being. Kimberly is well known for facilitating and co-facilitating on mindfulness sessions, and she's wonderful, y'all. I have been. She gets you all together. Prior to the pandemic, she collaborated and co-hosted Mindful Mondays at PCC. Her drive and passion continued to grow, and during the pandemic, Kim led and hosted virtual sessions for various occasions to combat the mental stress experienced by many during this time. One in which she is proud of is the opportunity to co-host a professional development session titled Mindful, F-U-L-L, or Mindful, M-I-N-D-F-U-L, centered around mindful practices. Kim is a certified mental health first aider. In 2020, Kim founded Let's Talk, an organization purposed to provide a safe space for preteen and teen girls. Within this space, they are encouraged to share, learn, and dialogue about critical issues that impact their lives daily. With Let's Talk, Kim has been able to lead small group sessions with preteen and teen girls to educate them on mental health awareness. So important, with an emphasis on anxiety and depression. Kim will be leading Let's Talk session in May 2022 on the topic of anxiety. I plan to be there. Thank you, Kimberly Riddick. Last but certainly not least, I am proud to introduce Professor Vandana Srivastava. While we know Vandana as one of Pitt Community College's premier math professors, Vandana Srivastava is a woman of many layers. She was born in India and has lived in the United States most of her adult life. That's 34 plus years. In her own words, she relates that she feels as if she has lived in the best of two worlds. She relates that her formative years were steeped in rich Indian culture, traditions, and philosophies. She states, "I was privileged to have witnessed ancient traditions all around me, including yoga. Although I did not practice yoga as a teenager, I gravitated towards it. Shortly after coming to America as a graduate student, I made up my mind that I will dive into yoga, and I did. I have been practicing yoga for 25 plus years now." She goes on to say, "Professionally, I was trained to teach mathematics. I have taught math at PCC for 27.8 years and counting." That deserves a hand. "In my humble opinion, mathematics and yoga share a common thread. Mathematics is an integral part of our everyday life, and yoga integrates our mind, body, and soul." Professor Srivastava's other interests include gardening, reading, and traveling. Ultimately, she says, "The goal of my life is to reach people with the various tools I've gathered throughout my life and skills I have cultivated by the virtue of living and having lived in the best of two worlds." Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to introduce to you a mathematics instructor and yoga guru, Ms. Vandana Srivastava. Clap, clap, clap. We will begin this discussion with Ms. Tavondia Burdett.
Hello, 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 and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Miss Regina, for that introduction. I am very excited to be here amongst all of these awesome women, not even just on the panel, but all of these awesome, well-educated and productive women at Pitt Community College and in our community. I have the pleasure of talking to you about our great title. I'm not sure who came up with the theme, but it is absolutely fitting, especially for me as a nurse. When I see providing healing and promoting hope, that is the essence of nursing. That is the essence of nursing, because nursing is not only a science where we make clinical decisions, but nursing is an art where there is compassion for people and compassion for families and compassion for women and compassion for men and compassion for the community. So that's what we do. That's what we do every day. But of course, not only as women, as nurses, but as women, that's what we do, don't we? We provide healing, because from day one, your child gets injured. What do? You stick a Band-Aid on, right? You heal a broken heart. You put your Oprah hat on or your Kim Riddick hat on, and you provide healing to a fragile spirit. So that's what we do. But I was asked specifically to talk to you about the physical aspect of healing and promoting hope. So I'm going to talk to you very, very briefly about how, as women, we need to maintain our physical strength. Because we go and we go and we go and we go. But at some point, if we do not maintain our physical strength, our physical health, we are not going to be able to go. Okay, so as I go to the next slide, it is interesting that when we think about health, okay, and this is from day one in the fundamentals class of our nursing students, we bring up this slide and we talk to them about what is health really. And so looking at what the World Health Organization says is the definition of health, it says that it is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of disease or infirmity. So this women's forum is right on target, aren't we? Because when we look at health, when we look at well-being, it's about balance. It's about the physical, it's about the mental, it's about the social, it's about your environment. And all of that has to be in tune in order for individuals to feel well. Okay, next slide. So I'm about to date myself. All right, how many of you remember Helen Reddy? You can put it in the chat, you can raise your hand, but do you remember that song that she had? It said, "I Am Woman." It came out in the 70s. It was empowering. I mean, it is not dated. As RahSheeda was talking about Sam Cooke's song, Helen Reddy's song fits right into the 21st century, doesn't it? But anyway, in the chorus, one of the first phrases said that I am strong, okay? So if we show that, it said, I am strong. Then it said, I am invincible. And then it said, I am woman, right? Yes, women, we are strong. We are a force to be reckoned with. We are a lot of things, but unfortunately, we are not invincible. I hate to say that, but I mean, I don't really hate to say it, but I just say that because sometimes as women, we need to get out of that thinking that we are invincible, that we are indestructible. We can be indestructible. We can be destructible especially if we don't take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of our physical bodies, we won't be there for everyone else, including ourselves. So again, I'm going to talk about how can we keep the balance physically as we age, as we go through different stages of development in our lives. How can we continue to remain strong physically? Okay, next slide. And I'm not going to keep you long because I know there are so many other people that have things to say. So I'm not going to keep you long. But I do want to think about how do we maintain physical strength as we age? Well, one of them, I know if I had asked you to raise your hand or give me an answer, you would have said physical activity, Tavondia. Yes, I know. I got to get out there. I got to walk. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to ride my bike. I got to get my 10,000 steps in. You would have said that. But would you have also said that part of me maintaining my physical strength, especially as I get older, is to do strength or resistance training? And that's why I'm going to talk about physical activity. I really want to focus on strength or resistance training, okay? And I'm going to tell you why in the next slide. Okay, so this graphic is from the Center for Disease Control, right off of their website. So let's look at this adults and older adults. This is their recommendation for physical activity. So for adults, it says ages 18 to 64 years of age. It says that as far as physical activity, okay? And when you look at physical activity, we can look at our everyday activity, and then we can look at activity that gets our heart rate up, which is that cardiovascular health, okay? So for cardiovascular health, the CDC says that you need to do at least 150 minutes a week. And you can break that up however you want to. That's 30 minutes a day for 5 days or whatever. And it gives you an example. It says such as moderate intense activity, such as a brisk walk, going through the Greenway, walking at a great pace for 30 minutes to get your heart rate up. But then it does say that adults between the ages of 18 to 64 need at least 2 days a week of activities that strengthen your muscles. And that's all that strength training is. It's about strengthening your muscles. And there's benefits to that we'll get to in a few minutes. Now, older adults, it says ages 65 or older, okay? You also need at least 150 minutes of that brisk walking or that moderate intensity activities such as a walk, okay? And at least 2 days of activities that strengthen your muscles. And then it adds something else, doesn't it? It says activities to improve balance, such as standing on one foot. So the CDC, in a very nice way, says that as you age, there are certain things that you lose. And if you want to keep them, if you want to maintain a strong body, you've got to do something, some activities that are going to make sure that you don't lose those things. Okay, next slide. So why do we need strength training or weight lifting? One reason is because it just makes you feel good. And it has something to do with the brain. It really does. It releases endorphins, okay, that release stress and anxiety, which all of us, because we are women and we are busy women, we have to a certain degree, right? So it releases these feel-good hormones. Your brain says, oh, I'm getting some blood flow. I'm getting some perfusion. Let me release these endorphins because this makes me feel good. It also builds lean muscle because as we age, we lose muscle, okay, and replace it with fat. So if we strength train, if we work the muscles, and that's all you need to think about is just working the muscles, it can help us build muscles, okay? It also increases flexibility because as we age, when I was at state, I was in the dance group, I could do a split. Ask me to do a split now. Do you think I could do a split now? I cannot do a split now. Why? Because I have aged. I have not kept up those things that help my flexibility. So I lost it, okay? It decreases the risk of heart disease. It helps you improve sleep. And the main thing is it helps to fight something called osteoporosis, which for women is big. Osteoporosis is just bone loss. Next slide. So this is what happens, okay? After your mid-30s, you know, people tell you sometimes, girl, after 30, it starts going downhill. Well, this is one reason why. Because after 30, women begin to lose bone mass faster because we don't produce as much estrogen, as much helpful hormones that protect our bones. So you can see that between 40 and 80, what happens? Bone loss happens in your spine, in your joints, in your legs. And so sometimes that's why you see these little old women hunched over because they have something called kyphosis, because they have lost bone. They have actually lost some bone mass. So strength training, working those muscles can help delay at least some of this bone loss. Now, of course, there are other things that help with that, like our nutrition, you know, getting that calcium from not just milk, but from green leafy vegetables. And yes, sometimes you also have to take calcium supplements. Those are things that you need to talk about with your physician on how you can help replace some of that bone loss. Okay, next slide. Strength training. So first of all, in the chat, really quick, before I show you some pictures, what kind of thoughts and feelings come to your mind? You can just put it in the chat very quickly. When I say strength training, how does that make you feel? What kind of thoughts do you have? Let me look at the chat. What do I see? What do I see? What are y'all putting in here? Boring, powerful. Okay, hard work. Yeah, okay, what else? What else? What else? Motivated. I love lifting. That's wonderful. Weights. Okay, that comes to your mind. Commitment. Time. Okay, now you're going. Empowered. Okay, weightlifting, building muscle. Okay, so then let's show that first picture. So it sounds like when I say strength training, this is what y'all think about. Is that what y'all think about? Maybe some of you do. Can this be strength training? It absolutely can be, but guess what? It doesn't have to be, okay? All right, maybe next picture, when I say strength training, is this what you think about? Look at this. This involves a lot of muscles. This involves strengthening your abdominal muscles, your leg muscles, your gluteal muscles. So maybe strength training for you might look like this, and that's okay. But then some of you might say, Tavondia, I can't get down there on the floor. Are you kidding me? Show the third picture. Maybe not. Maybe for you, strength training looks like this, and sitting in a chair. with weights, or it doesn't even have to be weights. Hold on, wait a minute, I forgot my props. It doesn't even have to be weights. It could be a band. It could be a resistance band. And again, it doesn't have to be weight. Maybe it's water bottles, because remember, strength training is just about working muscles more than what you normally do. Strengthen your muscles more than what you normally do. And yes, you can do this at home. So strength training takes on a lot of forms. It looks different based on who you are, okay, and what you are able to do. Yes, get you some bands. You can get 3 bands in a box from Marshalls. This is one of my bands. I've got 4 in a box from Marshalls for $7.99. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to belong to a gym. Do you want to belong to a gym? It's fine, but you don't have to make sure you maintain your strength. You don't have to do it. So 2 things I want you to remember about strength training. It is individualized. It could be the picture on the left. It could be the picture on the right. It could be the picture in the middle. It is individualized and it's realistic, okay? It is realistic for you. If you've got disabilities or chronic illnesses that don't allow you to do certain things, don't let it hinder you. Talk to your physician or your provider about it, but do something, okay, to help you stay strong. Okay, next slide, and I'm done. This next slide is really a resource for you, okay, because I'm all about free resources and what you can do for less. So I want to introduce to you a program done by Healthy Lives, Healthy Choices. Okay, and it's a free Zumba class. And don't let the word Zumba frighten you, because 1, it is done by certified exercise instructors, and it's not about dancing. Okay, sometimes there might be a few dance-like moves in there, but it is modifiable. Okay, it's free. It's every Saturday morning from 9 to 10. And you don't have to leave your house to do it. I do this pretty much every Saturday morning, and I look a mess. I roll out the bed. I'm like Mary J. Blige when she says, look in the mirror, don't put on your makeup, don't do all this and say, girl, you gorgeous. That's what I look like when I do this Zumba class. You don't have to turn your camera on, if you don't want to, but it's every Saturday morning from 9 to 10, and this is the link, okay? And it is for everybody because it is modifiable. We do strength training, we do cardiovascular health, we do toning. It is a great class. And like I said, it is done by certified exercise instructors. If you want more information, you can call Valerie Walker at the email address above. And yes, I can email the link. I actually have a flyer, and I'm not sure if Emily has that flyer, but I have the flyer, and I can either, great, they said they can send out the link to everyone. And I also have the flyer. I can send it to Jane or Emily. And if we want to distribute it to everyone, I would be more than happy to do that. Thank you so much for listening to me. And remember, just keep it realistic and keep it individualized, but be strong. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, that was wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm getting some bands, work on these arms, everything, Okay. So next up, we have Miss Kimberly Riddick. She's gonna come forward to share with us. I'm excited to get my mindfulness on.
Hello, everyone. I am Kim Riddick, and I'm excited to talk to you all a little bit about mental health today. So we've talked about physical health. Tavondia, you did an amazing job talking about physical health and getting us charged up. to work on our physical health. And I love how this all works together, because we talked about physical health, and now we're going to go into mental health. And so we are on a journey to healing. I don't know about you all. Well, I know for all of us, in some way, these last 2 years have been crazy. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I love that theme of providing healing, promoting hope for Women's History Month 2022. And you can go to the next slide, please. All right, and so this is just the theme, providing healing, promoting hope, and it's both a tribute to this. It's both a tribute to the ceaseless work of caregivers and frontline workers during this ongoing pandemic, and a recognition of the thousands of ways that women of all cultures have provided both healing and hope throughout history. As Tavondia mentioned, women, we are healers. We put on those hats. Even sometimes when we feel broken within ourselves, we are still trying to heal and help all those around us. Next slide. And so this is just a thanks to all the women that serve others in any capacity. Every interaction is an opportunity to provide hope and healing, sis. So rock on. Doesn't matter what your title is, doesn't matter what you do. When you get up every morning, everything that you do, everything that you touch, every person that you touch, it's an opportunity to provide hope and healing. Next slide. All right, so just a couple of topics that I want to talk about is healing and the pandemic that we have come through, or that really we're still in. Talk a bit about trauma today, and then we're going to talk about mindfulness and how we can incorporate some daily practices into our day-to-day life. Next slide. Healing and a pandemic. So the pandemic has connected with healing in so many ways. You might say, well, I don't really know, like a lot has happened during the pandemic. I don't feel like this was a time of healing. But I think that even though there have been a lot of bad things that have happened, it's been a lot of healing and opportunities to heal that have happened also. So many of us have discovered places within ourselves that needed healing. So if you look back in 2020, a lot of us everything was shut down. We were in isolation, we were quarantined. But during that time, we had a lot of times either by ourselves in solitude or with our families. And so whereas in the past, when we were going to work, we were going to meetings, a lot of those distractions were removed. And so during that time, it forced us to sit with ourselves and sit with things within us that were going on, unaddressed trauma, unhealed trauma, things that we had experienced. Even being around our loved ones more sometimes helped us to see triggers, things that we were annoyed about that someone did or said. And so that helped us to realize some triggers that we had. A positive thing during this time was that more modes of ways to receive mental health services became available. So prior to the pandemic, it was mainly just going to a mental health provider's office. During the pandemic, telehealth became way more popular. It was a much safer way to receive mental health services. And then it also provided reach. You could have a therapist that's in another city. You didn't have to physically travel. So it did provide a little more access on that end. Also, some insurance providers gave free mental health services for a period of time throughout the pandemic. So that was also a way that we had more access to mental health services. And then just individuals are healing from many impacts of COVID, whether that's physical, whether that's you've contracted COVID or you were a caregiver for someone that contracted COVID, emotional, the repercussions of having COVID, being in this pandemic, dealing with the triggers and the trauma that you had within you now that you're aware of that you had to address, spiritual, financial impacts. People lost jobs, people questioned their spirituality, may have left a group or an institution that they formerly attended prior to the pandemic. And so these are just a few options to name a few. A lot of people dealt with a lot and they lost jobs, lost security, and even peace of mind. Next slide. And so as we're turning the curve in the pandemic, it's very important that we're non-judgmental of individuals. So we want to make sure that we're not expecting, even as the world seems to be going back to normal or even a new normal, we want to make sure that we're not expecting everyone around us or even ourselves. We want to be kind and gentle with ourselves. We're not expecting ourselves to go back to normal. We're not expecting people to get over the last 2 years as if nothing happened. We want to make sure that we're being mindful of those around us, mindful of the impacts that people are experiencing. One physical change that we're seeing in the world is the outside is opening back up, as people say. Masks are no longer mandated in a lot of cases. However, we want to be mindful that even if masks are no longer mandated, that people may still choose the option of wearing a mask, and that's okay. And people may choose the option of removing a mask, and that's okay. And we want to make sure that we're respecting the decisions that people are making. They're making decisions that they feel are best for themselves and their families. So it's really important that we're gracious during this time and that we're really looking out for each other and that we're not making judgments about the choices that people are making to keep themselves and their families safe. Next slide. All right, and just some of the long-term impacts of the pandemic that we want to make sure that we don't ignore. Trauma. Trauma results from exposure or an incident or series of events that are emotionally disturbing or life-threatening, and they have lasting adverse effects on individuals' functioning, mental health, social, emotional, and or spiritual well-being. So trauma affects us in more ways than one. And then we have collective trauma, and that refers to the impact of a traumatic experience that is experienced as a group. So it affects an entire group of people, a community, and or society. So when we think about a pandemic, that's a collective trauma that we've experienced together. But within that pandemic, a lot of people have experienced individual traumas. So we're dealing with trauma on top of trauma. We're dealing on compounded trauma because people as a society, we've experienced the pandemic together, and that's a collective trauma. But then we have a lot of individuals that have lost loved ones due to COVID or just lost loved ones outside of COVID, have lost a job, have experienced relationships ending. So we have all kinds of trauma that individuals are experiencing. And so when we think about trauma and the different things that people are experiencing, we want to be mindful of that when we're interacting with people. And we also want to think of ways that we can address that trauma and heal and point people and ourselves in the direction of resources that can help us heal. Next slide. And so what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is something that we can be aware of that can help us get through some of those traumas. It's not the end all be all that will heal us from trauma, but it is something that can help us to be aware of trauma within ourselves, help us to be aware of trauma with others, and just help us within our aid with that healing process. So mindfulness means being fully centered in the present moment, conscious of the senses and in a state of awareness or concentration. Another definition is just the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So I like to think about mindfulness as if you practice, I like to think about practicing a lifestyle of mindfulness. And I'm excited because in these upcoming slides, I'm going to be able to show you some ways that you can incorporate it into your life. Because I think about it like this: if you practice a lifestyle of mindfulness, it just helps you to go through life's challenges a little easier. It helps you to be less reactive, helps you to be in tune with yourself and be in tune with others. Next slide. And so we talked a little bit about trauma, we talked about mindfulness, and I want to pull them together and talk about trauma-informed mindfulness. So trauma-sensitive, or it can interchangeably be used with trauma-informed mindfulness, is the practice of taking a trauma-informed approach to do the work that we do during mindfulness practices. So basically, trauma-informed mindfulness takes into consideration that when you're doing mindfulness practices, it may actually trigger trauma or trauma response for individuals. So I have some resources as we go further in the slides that you can look into if you've never done mindfulness before, if you're thinking about doing like an actual mindfulness exercise or practice, and you want to look more into it and you're aware that you've experienced some trauma and you want to be mindful of that. I have some resources in later slides that you can look into. Next slide. Okay, and so a couple of ways, how is mindfulness beneficial? So it aids in emotional intelligence. Listening to our emotions is actually a form of mindfulness. So when you're being mindful, it helps you to really be in that moment, to really think about how you feel. And that's a part of emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence is not only just thinking about how you feel, but it's also being aware of others around you, regulating your emotions and being aware of others around you and what they're experiencing within their emotions. So emotional intelligence is just something it's not just, but it's something that's very big, and it's something that can help you get through life. It helps you deal with people and individuals that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. And then ladies, we're talking about, this is Women's History Month. It can be helpful in regulating and decreasing premenstrual discomfort. So it would be nice if it was the cure, but it's not a cure, but it can be helpful. So mindfulness practices, depending on what you do, they can help decrease stress levels, and decreasing stress levels can help with decreasing PMS, or alleviating some PMS symptoms, because it can decrease those stress levels. And so that will help with some of those flare-ups. Now, this is not to ignore if you have PMS or PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, a more severe form of PMS. If you're experiencing extreme physical or emotional symptoms, don't ignore seeking medical assistance for that. But if you're practicing mindfulness, you can kind of help alleviate some of those mood swings or some of the anxiety. If your anxiety ramps up during that time of the month, you can help alleviate that while practicing mindfulness. Next slide. There's also benefits in pregnancy. So there was a study in 2016 that took a group of women in their second and third trimesters of pregnancy that were practicing mindfulness while in their second and third trimesters. And so for 2 weeks during this time, they also wrote in their journals about how they were feeling physically and mentally, just a way for them to record those emotions. And so they compared the group of women that went through this experiment with women that didn't. And so they reported greater increases in their well-being, their positive emotions such as enthusiasm, determination, and just being able to be in the moment and be aware of what they were feeling. And then beyond that, they also followed these women 1 month post-pregnancy or post-delivery. And these women were still experiencing higher self-esteem, life satisfaction, and well-being within that first month after delivery. And that's so important because you think about postpartum disorder. So that's a time where women need to be in an optimal state mentally, physically, and emotionally, and have support. So there are some benefits within pregnancy also in practicing mindfulness. And mindfulness can also aid in healing practices. Again, it's not healing. It doesn't heal you alone, but think mindfulness and therapy combined. So if you're seeking mental health services, you have a therapist or you have a counselor that you're working with, and you add mindfulness with that, that's a good combination that can help in that process. And it can help you with managing daily stressors. We all wear many hats as women. We wear many hats. And so sometimes, like, let's say you get off the phone and you got news that was a little disturbing, or there was some tension between you and the person that you were, this is a better example. There was some tension with you and the person you were on the phone with. Sometimes just hanging up that phone, taking a deep breath, doing a quick mindfulness activity. We're going to do a quick one a little later on in the program. It can help you to bring yourself down and self-regulate, and it can help you as you go on about your day. And next slide. All right, and so as you're practicing mindfulness, you may already be familiar with the practice, or it may be something that you're wanting to incorporate. These are some things to be aware of, and that's self-awareness. Being aware of yourself and your triggers, that can help you as you're practicing mindfulness. It can help you knowing your limits It can help you know and learn, because you're gonna have to learn this, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. One thing about mindfulness is, because there are trauma-informed mindfulness practices, some practices may work for some may not work for others, some may be triggering. But as you become more aware of yourself, you're able to determine and practice things, you're able to determine if this works for you and if it doesn't. And one thing that I really want to drive home is, if you're doing a mindfulness practice and it doesn't feel right, stop. Don't force it. I think with mindfulness, we think that we have to really sit in it, and because it's something that is supposed to feel good, and we start shoulding ourselves. We're like, well, I should like this. This should work for me. But anytime you find yourself saying should a lot, there's a lot of shame behind that. So don't should yourself. Don't force yourself to keep going. Stop. Try something else. Try something else that works for you. Don't have any shame in changing course, because the purpose of mindfulness is you want it to calm, you want to be relaxed, but you have to figure out what works for you, because something that works for one person may not work for another, and that's totally fine. My next point, meditation can trigger a trauma response. That kind of goes into what I was talking about with self-awareness. So just as you become more aware of yourself, you're able to identify what works for you and what doesn't. Personalizing your space. So if you have an area in your home, or if you want to be outside and do some mindfulness activities outdoors, you can personalize your space. You can, if you're indoors, it's much easier. If you're outdoors, you can choose a setting. But if you're indoors, you can put up things in your space that make you feel more comfortable, make you feel relaxed. That may be neutral colors, it may be soft colors, it may be bright colors, whatever works for you that makes you feel comfortable. You can put up different quotes, scripture, whatever helps you to be calm. Next slide. All right, and you can practice virtually. So, and especially now, a lot of things with COVID have afforded us the opportunity to practice things or do things virtually. So you can get on a Zoom if you're considering starting mindfulness, but you're not comfortable either for COVID reasons and safety, or you're just not comfortable trying it out in front of a group where you have to be in person. You can practice virtually. You can get on a Zoom like we're on, and we'll do a little mindfulness practice later. You can cut your camera off if you're not comfortable, or if you just feel more comfortable practicing mindfulness with your camera off, that is perfectly fine. The idea is to do what works for you. And then to educate yourself also, because the more that you learn reading articles about mindfulness, talking with people that have an awareness of mindfulness, the more that you learn and educate yourself, the more comfortable that you'll become with the practice. Next slide. All right, and so, excuse me, I love this because we can talk about daily practices, practical things that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're all gonna eat, right? I know I love food. So practicing mindfulness, you can take notice of what you eat. Sit down and have a meal. You know, there's 7 days in a week, and I know we're really busy, but you can make it a practice that one meal each week, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna turn your phone over, you're gonna put it on D&D. If you're eating by yourself or if you're with your family, everybody's gonna put their phone in a bucket or leave it in another room. That way it doesn't ring, and you're just talking with each other, but you're just also, if you're by yourself, you're just taking note of the sensations, taking note of how the food feels, taking note of the texture, the colors of the palate, taking note of how it feels when it goes down. You can cook. If you like cooking, it involves you in the process of what you are eating. You have to be a little bit more mindful, especially if you're trying out a new recipe or just trying out something you want to try out. Cooking makes you become a part of that process. Eliminating distractions, talk a little bit about that. Maya Angelou, I did not know this, and I was excited to discover it. She has a cookbook, Great Food All Day Long. And basically something that Maya Angelou says is eat what you want when you want it. So if you want breakfast for dinner, go for it. If you want dinner for breakfast, go for it. And something else that she said, now this is not going to be a good dieting tip, but it's a good mindfulness tip, is she said, if you want something, you know, basically don't ignore your food cravings. So if you want fried chicken, but you end up going to get a T-bone steak, you're probably going to eat more because you're not really getting what you want. You're not going to be satisfied. So go for your cravings sometimes, you know, with restraint, go for your cravings as far as being a mindful eater. being mindful while getting ready for work, paying attention to how your body feels while doing simple exercises like brushing your teeth, washing your face while you're in the shower. Pay attention to the sensations of the water from the shower. Next slide. All right, and then some continued daily practices throughout the workday, paying attention to how your body feels, paying attention to how your back feels against your chair, paying attention to how your fingers feel as you're typing, paying attention to how you feel at the beginning of the workday, and paying attention to how you feel at the end of the workday. These are all ways to be mindfulness. Or be mindful when you're sitting at your computer. Stand up sometimes. If you stand up a lot for work, sit down. Just be intentional about taking pauses. It's springtime now and it's beautiful outside. Walk outside, or even if it's a rainy day or a thunderstorm. Like, I love thunderstorms. I love to listen to the sounds of the thunder. Watch the lightning from the inside. Be safe. Watch the lightning. And be mindful when you're working out. Tavondia was giving us great tips about strength training and staying in shape and maintaining our bodies physically. So paying attention to when you go get those bands from Marshalls, how do they feel when you put those bands on? When you're running and jogging, how do your muscles feel? Paying attention to all these things. And the next slide. Excuse me, and I just have to, sorry, on my throat was dry. I have some resources for you all. You can go ahead and put all the resources on and I'll run through them real quick. So calm.com and abide.co, you can do different meditations on both of those. They're very similar. Some of them are free and some of them are paid. Abide has a lot of scriptural Bible verses, and they have meditations around Bible verses. So check out Calm and Abide. If you're interested in learning more about emotional intelligence, Mr. Kenneth Joyner, he's done a lot of work on emotional intelligence, and he came to mind when I was putting this together. So I wanted to put his information out there if you're interested in connecting to learn more, because I know I touched on it, but he's definitely an expert in that area if you would like to learn more. And just to connect with the mental health professional in a confidential way, if you're looking to seek counseling or therapy services, betterhelp.com, and then David Trelevin.com. He does a lot of great work around trauma-informed mindfulness. And I can definitely share these links and resources with anyone. And then next slide, that just has a couple of links, and I can send those out on some articles about mindfulness, the link to the cookbook if you're interested in buying it. And then next slide is just thanking you all for your time. Thank you all for listening. And if you want to connect to learn more about mindfulness or mental health. And that's all I have. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kim, for that. Mindfulness is always appropriate, always on time, and we are just so thankful how everything is just connecting. Next, we have Miss Vandana Srivastava come forward, and she's going to be talking with us about an activity that can help us in all of our health realms. Vandana Srivastava, come on down.
So hello, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.
The light in me greets the light in you today. And I'm so honored to be here to talk to you about the yoga. And I want to thank, before I start that, I want to thank Tavondia and Kimberly for talking about the physical and mental health. Now, yoga, in some regard, is the essence of physical, mental, and spiritual health. Now, when I'm talking about spiritual health, I'm not talking about religion, but I'm talking about your health of your soul. So I have a small presentation that I have gathered for you, and I'm going to share at this minute. Sorry, didn't mean that. Sorry, I have to stop sharing. I have to get my PowerPoint. Oops. So can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No.
No, you cannot. Okay, I'm sorry about that. What happened? Okay, let's see now. Share my screen. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about yoga today. Yoga is very close to my heart. I've been practicing yoga for some time now. So the meaning of yoga is really the union. So union of mind, body, and spirit. So as I've told you, the meaning of yoga is the joining of the mind, body, and spirit. The yoga scriptures state that the practice of yoga leads to the union of individual consciousness to the universal consciousness, which creates the harmony between mind, body, man, and nature. Now, yoga originated in India 5,000 years ago. So it is more complicated, and the traditions and practices are more than just physical exercise, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. So as I said, yoga is not a religion, not at all. So yoga is just the way of living a healthy mind and in a healthy body. So yoga really does promote the physical health, the mental health, the emotional health, and the spiritual health. And once we practice yoga, we actually know what it does to us. So there are some 8 limbs of yoga. I'm going to quickly talk about it. Every one can take 2 hours. So I'm not going to spend, I don't have that much time to spend, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So the first limb is the yama. This is a Sanskrit word, which means restraint. Niyama, which is observance. Now, what does that really mean in a translation? That means the living truthfully, non-violence way, purity of mind, and moral discipline, purification of the mind, body, and soul. So those yama and niyama are the 2 essence, the first 2 essence of yoga. Now, the asana that you see, the third one, is what is more common in West. That's what yoga, you have seen that, twist and turn your body, but that is only the third one. The fourth is pranayama, the breath control. Now this seems like number 4, but I think this should be number 1, because the breathing is the essence of our living. So when we are peaceful, our breath is peaceful and very rhythmic. So that when you're calm, you can breathe, you can feel your breath going in and out in a very calm way, versus when we are disturbed or angry or agitated, our breath is broken. So in yoga, we really practice breathing. And when we do the breathing properly, we can really promote good health. And for that, it may be surprising that we have to practice, but we truly have to practice breathing. And we can do so by sitting down calmly in one place and just breathing in and out for maybe just 5 minutes a day. And it's really important for all of us, and especially for women. We are, constantly running around and truly not breathing. So this, in my opinion, is really a good part of yoga. Now, pratyahara is not talked about so much in yoga, it's really important. Pratyagraha means, this is a Sanskrit word, which is a 2 words. Prati ahar, that means withdrawing from food. Literally that means, but that's not the translation. The meaning of the pratyahar, the 5th limb, is withdrawing from external stimuli that overstimulates us, and not consuming that agitates our mind. So this could be food, it could be cell phone, it could be any other variety of things that we don't require. The sixth is dharana, concentration. And seventh is dhyana, concentration, meditation, which Kimberly talked about, mindfulness. That's what yoga does to us, mindfulness. When we do yoga, we are really mindful of our breath and of our posture. And that is, so yoga consists of all of these, 8 limbs, which are just tremendously important for our day-to-day life. And the last is samadhi, pure contemplation. And this is tough to achieve, but if we keep doing yoga for a long time, maybe we will be able to do number 8. So if you do yoga, then some of the asanas that you see here, Surya Namaskar, it's called, sun salutation, is really common. This is the first thing you would learn if you're doing yoga. And I was thinking about when Tavondia was talking about strength training. Surya Namaskar does strength training because you are holding your own body weight. In all of this, if you notice this plank position, you're holding your weight. And this really does a very good strength training. As we grow older, women, as we grow older, we do need some strength training. I agree. And the sun salutation is a really good one. Now, these are some fun poses: butterfly pose, dog pose, cobra. Cobra is really good for a back. And this is camel pose. So I thought that I could just share it with you. Now there are some other interesting poses. Happy baby, that's really good. The squat pose is really good. Look at the child pose. This is my favorite. It's just relaxes you to no end. Now when I was doing research for my presentation, I saw this quote. It says, change your posture and you change the way you breathe. Change your breathing and you change your nervous system. This is one of the great lesson of yoga. And this is written, this quote comes from the book Yoga is Medicine by Timothy McCall. And I thought that, what better way to put yoga, but in this 3 lines that he quoted. If truly we change the posture, the way we sit, the way we stand, we will change the breath. And once we change the breath, we change the nervous system. And once we change the nervous system, we really kind of standing guard to our health, basically. So I thought that I would share with you this quote. And the benefit of yoga are, mental health to physical health to emotional health, and you name it. There are so many benefits for yoga, and especially for women as we, grow older. And this quote is really telling. It says, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self to the self. And that's what yoga does. It brings a lot of components of your own identity and your own self together. And lastly, what yoga means to me. Yoga means a lot to me, but I summarized in 5 sentences here. It really does improve my concentration when I do yoga. It allows me to be in a present moment. Kimberly talked a lot about mindfulness, and yoga really does promote mindfulness, and it unlocks my energy flow. It truly feels, the body feels lighter after doing yoga. It does. If you do practice yoga, you know what I'm talking about. So one important thing that I notice when I do yoga, when I practice, whatever I practice on the mat, when I say what, mindfulness, concentration, focus, if I practice on the mat, that goes with me off the mat. So I'm very mindful And I'm very focused and I'm very intentional off the mat when I am, not doing yoga. So that goes with me. And one last thing that I noticed about me, that I remain mindful and non-judgmental when I do yoga. And even more amazing is I catch myself when I am judgmental. I know I am judgmental, and I take a note in my mind and I say, I can do better. So yoga doesn't only do physical, it helps emotional and psychological, mental, and finally spiritual health. Thank you for coming to this show or this presentation, and thank you for listening to me. Namaste. The light in me goes down to the light in you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all of you. It has been just absolutely wonderful. We're going to ask Ms. Cherie White to come forward with some modifications and instructions, and we're excited for what's coming up next. So, Ms. White.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the sake of time, we are asking everyone to please type your questions in the chat area. We are going to compile those questions, and we will seek responses from our esteemed panelists, and then we will send those that information out to the campus or the participants of this event. We are also going to find a way to tape or video, I'm old school, video the mindfulness moment that Ms. Kimberly Riddick is doing for us. And we will also send that out as well. Next, we will have VP Marianne Cox to come and present the Woman of Substance Award.
Thank you, Cherie. It's my pleasure and honor to award the 21st Annual PCC Woman of Substance Award this year. This award is co-sponsored by PCC's Multicultural Activities Committee and the SGA. It was created in 2001-2002 academic year to recognize and encourage outstanding women role models employed on the PCC campus. So the following characteristics are really important for this award: involvement on Pitt Community College's campus, involvement in our community, willingness to go the extra mile, demonstrates an attitude of service, commitment, and caring, and an outstanding role model for women on the PCC campus. Previous recipients of the Woman of Substance Award are as follows: Amy Hines, Renee Arrington, Pamela Dale, Dr. Wanda Bunch, Regina Garcia, Marguerite Stevens, Kathy Clark, Leslie Rogers, Angela Martin, Christina Weeks, Marguerite Parker, Betty Foreman, Susan Nobles, Ty Davis, Sedette Boyce Brown, Dr. Kristen Braswell, Lori Priest, Donna Neal, Charity Valentine, and I was last year's recipient. By the way, in case you're wondering, the title of the award is adapted from the book Hell's Bells. That's B-E-L-L-E-S, Famous Women of the South, a tribute to the Spitfires, Bad Seeds, and Steel Magnolias of the New and Old South. This year, we received 6 nominations, and the nominations documented the many outstanding characteristics and accomplishments of these women. The selection committee had their work cut out for them, and it was not an easy or clear process. Let me introduce the nominees and read a comment from each of the 6 nominations. Lee Bray, Director of Financial Aid. Lee continuously seeks to empower students on campus and to find opportunities for financial assistance to help them in their educational journey. Happy Gingras, Senior Director of Teaching and Learning. Happy is a wonderful person to work with, and her upbeat attitude is contagious. Brooke Green, Student Success Advisor. Brooke is the most selfless person I have ever met. She helped me turn my life around, and my life has never been better. Sherry Joyner, Department Chair for Criminal Justice. Mrs. Joyner leads from the front. She sets examples in every aspect of the college classroom instruction. Vanessa Pippin, Trio EOC Coordinator. Vanessa is encouraging women who see the value in everyone she comes in contact with. And Kim Simpkins, Scholarship Coordinator. Kim thinks through all situations and is extremely thorough in all she does. She has taken our scholarship program to a new level. I can truly say, and I think that you would too, that PCC is a better place because of these women. This year's Woman of Substance winner is truly committed to PCC and her students. She is a very active employee, a member of numerous committees, participates in many PCC events. She worked her way through college and obtained her master's degree from ECU. After working in the courthouse for a few years, she felt the calling to teach at the college level and has provided guidance and education to so many students. She is also active in her community and, along with her husband, Mike, serves as a mentor, coach, and spiritual guide for countless young children in Pitt County as a coach for a City League softball team. She makes sure children understand the importance of hard work and good sportsmanship and emphasizes that they will carry these lessons with them throughout their lives. During COVID, she has made sure she is up to date on any changes in policy and technology updates. She genuinely cares for her fellow employees, leads by example, and simply lets them do their jobs. This nominee sets the example for every woman to work hard, persevere, do the right things, and succeed at every level. She is the epitome of a woman of substance. Please join me now in recognizing our 2022 Woman of Substance Award recipient, Sherry Joyner. Congratulations, Sherry. I'd like to give you an opportunity to thanks for the applause. Sherry, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to PCC. I enjoy what I do here at PCC. Congratulations to the other nominees as well. Again, I just love what I do.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jane Power.
Congratulations, Sherry. That's exciting. Thanks again to all of our participants today, Ms. Burdett, Ms. Riddick, and Ms. Srivastava. I also want to thank our MAC Women's Forum committee members, Vandana, Olivia Sutton, Sally Stone, Amelia Bain, Catherine Clyde, Patricia Gaither, Erin Harvey, Cherie White, and Regina Garcia. Special thanks to RahSheeda Waddell again for our music, Emily McConnell for our technical support, and once again, a big congratulations to Sherry Joyner. Thanks everybody for attending this event. After leaving this event, please take care of your physical and mental health. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much. It was really nice. This event was really nice.
Thanks, Vandana.
Yes, it was really great.
And we're gonna try to record it and get it sent out to it is recorded, but we'll edit it and send it out.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, some of